Hi everybody, David Nour. I want to welcome you to this inaugural Periscope. Delighted you're here. Get inbound leads. My friend Nicole is here. Hi. So I'm delighted you guys are here, and I'm excited to share with you some best practices in building, nurturing relationships. I did a test of this session from the garage. And just a quick reminder, right? I'm inside my happy place, right? This is where the garage is. This is where the bikes are. This is where the tools are. This is where I hang out. And it's just my oasis. It's a chance to get away from everything and everybody. And you can see a lot of counter space, a lot of chances, references, resources. And the reason I'm doing this from the garage is not only I think it's kind of fun to do it from here, but also I think there's a lot of common themes, common ideas about bikes and about business relationships, right? So there's a 360-degree view of the shop. But I talk a lot about business relationships, not as transactional, right? Not as a contact, but really as a transformation, as a chance to think differently about your business, think differently about your personal and professional growth. So a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Number one, if you're new to Periscope, I know many of you are, seasoned users, but if you're new to Periscope, I created a visual for you. We spare no expense in sharing good ideas, so swipe to the right. There's a good chance for you to share some of these ideas. Number two, if you're new to Periscope, whether you're watching this live or after the fact, you can also physically tap on your screen and share hearts and share good ideas with others about things you like, things that you find of value. Last but not least, I want to make sure as the inaugural folks to watch this, I want to create some value for you. So I feel like Oprah. You're a winner. I'm a winner. Everybody's a winner. Here's what I want you to do is go to the shop section of the website. Some of these may be mirrored. Email me info@nourgroup.com and send me your name, your physical address, and one item from our shop on our website. And this week, I'll sign it and I'll mail it off to you. My intent is to share with you best practices and ideas and resources. And in the coming months, we'll have a lot more to download from our website, a lot more to share in terms of resources, in terms of papers, in terms of infographics. But today's session is really focused on three things I want to talk about. One of the things we've learned is that my audience gets a lot of value from tips, techniques, and best practices. So number one, I want to talk to you about 5 stages of really developing your relationships. Number two, I want to give you 10 just observations that I've seen people do really dumb things when it comes to their business relationships, right? So I'll share some of those with you. And last but not least, I want to give you 3 ideas to really think about in terms of every meeting, in terms of every interaction. So let's start with the first one. 5 stages of your strategic relationships, right? So I want to show you a motorcycle reference, right? This is a chain cleaner. And one of the things that you'll learn very early on about motorcycles, and if I come over here a second, you'll see, is this idea that you've got to take care of your bikes, right? So I just came back from a lunch meeting, and I wrote probably one of my favorites, right? It's a new one. It's a Moto Guzzi, and it's a little cafe racer, right? So it's kind of cute, it's kind of fun. And what you have to do is learn not just the fun part about riding it, but also maintaining it. So I researched a ton, and I bought you saw the chain cleaning tool, and I bought this chain cleaner. And it's an example of, again, everybody gets excited about this idea or mesmerized by the notion of riding a motorcycle. Very few people really think about taking care of it and really nurturing it. And that's exactly what you have to do with relationships, right? So first you got to get really good at, the first stage is identifying. So you have to get very focused on the business results, the business outcomes you're after. What relationships do you need to prioritize? Which ones do you need to identify? Which ones are going to be instrumental to your success? Next is you have to really relate to them. You have to create value. You have to exchange value. They have to see you as a priority. Listen, we're all busy. We're all being pulled in a lot of different directions. And only when others see you of value will they prioritize your calls and return your emails and get you on the calendar. And you, in essence, because of the value that you bring, you elevate yourself on their list of priorities. So first you have to identify or initiate. Second, you have to relate. Third is you have to really nurture that over some period of time. And what are you doing with every interaction? I've long believed that with every touch, you have an opportunity to enhance your credibility or you can dilute it. So what are you doing with every interaction to enhance those, to make sure you're constantly seen as someone that brings value? The next level is you got to sustain it, especially if you're in this for the long term, if you're not just selling a transaction. If you're looking for that relationship to be a long-term opportunity, you really have to find ways to nurture it and sustain it over some period of time. So identify, relating, nurturing, sustaining, and really the pinnacle of this effort is capitalizing. And there's a lot of people that are very good at relationship creation. They really struggle in bridging that to relationship capitalization. Said another way, they have a lot of coffee meetings, they have a lot of lunch meetings, and unfortunately they don't have anything to show for it. So I don't want you to be one of those people. I think of, and I'll often reference the Jerry Maguire business model. If you saw the movie, how do we focus on fewer relationships? And how do you make sure they're really impactful? Again, for those of you I love, we've got a handful of people that have joined late. Just a couple of reminders. You can swipe to the right to share any of the insights with your audience, and I'll encourage you and welcome others to join us. Number two, as I share ideas, insights, if you think of value, if you just tap your screen, you can also generate some hearts, both in the live as well as the recorded session. And that gives me, again, a better sense of the content that resonates, things that you're interested in. So we just covered the 5 stages of really strategic relationships: identifying, relating, nurturing, sustaining, and then really capitalizing. So let me switch gears. And again, I wrote these down for myself. And I went back and looked at my notes, and I looked at my calendar over time. And I would love to hear from you about, likewise, what are some of the dumb relationship things you see people doing, right? And if you tweet it or if you comment on it, I'll share it in the live session. But let me go through the 10 really dumb things people do when it comes to business relationships, right? I've broken them into 3 buckets. Think of before, almost like a theater act. Before, during, and after. So before, think about it. They really have they do no insightful homework on the industry, on the company, or the individual they're about to engage. Whether it's a phone call or a meeting, what homework have you done? Are you walking in blindly? And I'm amazed. In 2016, people still do this, right? They walk into a relationship that's important to them and they haven't done any homework. So number one, no, not just information, but insights about what's happening in the industry, what's going on with the company, what's really going on with that individual that you need to know, you need to get to know. Second topic, they lead with the product or service, which is often input, versus the outcome the person's after. Thanks for, John JSC is here. Thanks for joining. Jose Pedro, thanks for joining. So a lot of people lead with products and services, and I keep telling them, look, that's input. That is... it doesn't matter nearly as much as the outcome that you're after. So what are you doing to create a compelling and really focus the conversation on the outcome they're after? What are they trying to accomplish? What are their goals? What are their priorities? If you don't know those things, guess what? You're shooting in the dark. And people show up and talk about, how great their products and services are without really understanding the outcomes, the business outcomes that person's after. Third one, again, this is the top 10 really dumb business relationship things people do. So I covered no insightful homework on the industry, on company and individuals before they walk in. They lead with product or service mindset. That's really input and not the outcome. right? So think about the business outcome. They do they do nothing to be an object of interest, right? So, what are you doing to create air cover before they reach you, right? So what are you doing to make sure they've read something you've written? What are you doing to create value? Again, as air cover before you walk into that meeting. Because if they've never heard of you, it's a much bigger uphill battle than if they've watched a video. Maybe you've put on your LinkedIn, or you've written an article somewhere, or they've heard you speak, or somebody else referenced you. All those ideas kind of pave the way for that relationship to see you as more valuable instantaneously. And your ramp up is just a lot easier, a lot less painful, if you will. Number 4, they don't leverage relationships to create access. I'm a big fan of Jim Collins, and he talks about whenever we're faced with a challenge or an opportunity, we think about what should we do and how should we do it. We seldom think about the relationships. We don't think about what relationships are useful to us. What relationships can we not use but leverage to get things done? And if you're not thinking about relationships with each and every one of your goals, I think you're spending a lot of cycles, and you're really struggling to kind of connect the dots, if you will, because you don't have time to make all the mistakes yourself. And one of the things relationships do is they accelerate your ability to get things done. So they're a phenomenal enabler. Again, Susan has jumped in, right? It's a great enabler to you framing the right problem, or thinking about options, or coming up with ways to solve it. So those are the before. Those are 4 things, dumb things people do before. During, they have no plan before, during, or after the interaction, right? So especially the more seasoned you get, the more people think they can wing it. Right? Hey, do we have to do any prep for this call? No. We'll just go and we'll meet with them and see what happens. That is the recipe for disaster, right? So even if it's 15 minutes in the parking lot before you walk in, or 15 minutes of quiet time before that call, you have to have a plan. What are the questions that I'm likely to be asked? What questions do I want to ask? What's the next logical step in this discussion? So listen, I grew up old school selling, right? And we had to prepare calls, and we had to prepare for kind of what we were going to go in there and talk about. So if you're not planning, especially relationships that are important to you, before you go in, what am I going to do during, and what do I want to do after? Again, you're flying blindly, and that's really really dangerous. 90-10 talking versus listening. I just had breakfast with somebody this morning, and again, I don't know if this has ever happened to you or not, but about 50 minutes of the hour was about them. And you try to smile and you try to be polite, but I'm like, good God, at some point, all about you gets really boring, really dull. So this woman came to this breakfast meeting a lot more interested in telling me all about what she's doing, and I don't think she cared about any of the stuff I was up to. Or I finally asked, by the way, remind me, do you have any kids? And what do you do for fun outside of work? My point here is, with every one of us, you're asking people to trust you. What are you doing to give them a chance to get to know you? Because they won't do that. They won't care about your products or services or what value you bring until you give them a chance to get to know you. So if you're talking most of it, you're not really learning about me and my challenges and my opportunities and things I'm trying to do, right? So that's a interesting thing to think about, is when you go to that next interaction, again, whether it's a call or a meeting, is it all about you, or are you investing in listening and engaging them for some insights? This is number 7, a list of 10 really dumb things, and again, I'll quickly review them at the end. They seldom have a return ticket punched. I had an old manager who said, if you really focus on creating value and really adding value with people in that first interaction, you get your return ticket punched. You in essence want to you want people to see you again. You want to be invited back. You're looking forward to having them hear from you or get something from you. Those are all logical next steps. And if you're not doing anything in that visit to create that next opportunity, it's going to be a very short visit and or a very short interaction. Number 8, no real understanding of the impact that you create or the next value exchange opportunity. So if you don't understand where they're going, how will you add any value? How will you really improve their lives? How will they be better off because of you? So while I'm meeting with them, as I'm listening, by the way, convey your credibility to the questions you ask, not the information you provide. So how can you ask intelligent, engaging questions that makes them say, that's interesting. I've never thought about it that way. And they invite you back to continue the dialogue, or they call you back or email you back or refer you to somebody. So really thinking about what's the next opportunity to exchange value. Number 9, no follow through. As a reminder, follow through is a process. Follow up is a transaction. Everybody can follow up, right? I can always send an email or did you get that email, and I can call people, and that's just an event. Follow through is, did you get it? Did you read it? Did you have a chance to look at it? Was it in fact of value to what you were trying to do? Was it really impactful in your outcome? 10, no sense of urgency. There's no immediate opportunity to add value, and the contact goes cold. So this has been the 10 dumb real, and again, I'm happy to address some of these in subsequent blogs or give you more details if you want. But here I just want to remind you, and I'm hoping either if you're doing some of these things, you need to stop. If you see other people doing some of these things, maybe point it out. It's a great opportunity to coach and mentor others in this. But there's before, during, after. There's no insight and homework on the industry, company, individual. They lead with product or service, which is input. There's no object of interest. You don't create any kind of air cover. You don't leverage relationships to get you in. There's no plan when you're in there, before, during, and after. You're doing way more talking than you're doing listening. And you seldom get your return ticket punched. There's no real understanding of the impact you create, and there's no follow through. There's no process for really creating value. This is a really, again, I want to practice what I preach, right? So I've been sharing with you. This is a really good opportunity. If you have a question, please also share it here. If you have questions, concerns about relationships, if there's a burning topic you want me to address, whether in stages or dumb things people do, this is a really good opportunity to ask those. I live and breathe business relationships, and I'm happy to give you some insight. So window with a view, thank you for joining. I'm glad that we still got a good turnout and good folks here. So if you have questions, please jump in, and I'd love to answer those for you. Last but not least, 3 things you want to do in every meeting. I've long believed that way too many people try to boil the ocean. I want you to think about boiling a cup of water. Boring day 12. Glad you're here. Number 1, you want to build rapport. In every first initial meeting, you want to build rapport. Because if you're not likable, if they don't like you, if they don't get a sense that you have a vested interest in their success, it's just not going to go very far. So build rapport. Number 2, really focus on solving a problem. People will do a lot more to solve a challenge than they will address an upside. So really, develop your credibility, convey your credibility by the questions you ask. SM Susie 1989, thanks for joining. So if you convey your credibility with the questions you ask, again, you become an object of interest. And the third thing you want to do in any meeting is determine next steps, if any. So again, number 1, build rapport. 2, convey your credibility through the questions you ask. And 3, determine next steps, if any. That's it. That's all you need to do in these meetings. So think about those. I want you to, hopefully this next week, practice some of those. If I can leave you with 3 tips. Listen more than you talk. Find ways to become an object of interest. And create the next logical value add, the next logical opportunity. That's it. I'm David Nour. Hashtag Relationship Economics. I'm going to try to do these on a regular basis, Tuesdays, 1 o'clock Eastern. Look in the blog for more details. I'll typically write about some of these topics in the blog as well. And always, 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 I would welcome your questions, ideas. So let's see. Jim's here. Jim, good to see you. Best ways to elevate or reposition an existing relationship. Jim, they got to see a different level of value from you. I've always believed provoking them. I've always believed and Alan Weiss says this as well, bring a contrarian perspective, bring a unique perspective. It's really easy to kind of go with the herd. I would find an opportunity to get that relationship, change their lens. Really bring a different perspective in how they're thinking about their business, how they're thinking about the evolution of their business. I'm having lunch with a CEO later this week, and they grew by, I think some 10 or 12% last year. For all intents and purposes, this is a really good growth. I'm going to go to that meeting and ask, where's that upside going to come from? Where would 15 or 20% business going to come from? They're also not very agile or nimble. So that's another angle. That's another opportunity to help them think differently about what he's trying to do. So again, you've been watching the Relationship Economics Periscope. I hope this has been of value to you. Come back, and I want to leave you with, I want to show you a picture you're going to appreciate, right? That is right there, right? Your friend Nour, right? Look at that. That is me being followed by a coach at a school. And the reason I want to show you that, and the reason I want to leave you with that, is we all need coaching. We all need development. We all need, and that's how we grow, is by surrounding ourselves with people that bring particular expertise or a unique perspective to kind of what we're doing and how we're doing it. But any coach you work with, they can't often do the work for you. So your mindset in improving, growing, learning is really going to make the difference. And whether you become relevant, you stay relevant to your relationships, or you become stagnant. So listen, I've talked way too much. Thanks for being here. And again, if you have questions, comments, please email or you can get in touch through our website, which is just nourgroup.com. Make it a great rest of the week. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, 1 o'clock Eastern. Thanks, everybody. All the best. Bye-bye.